with Jamie McLennan.
Look at this.
Oh,
Is he in the Great White Cultural Capital?
I am. Look at, I've got it.
There they are.
Look, are you at Mama's for Christmas?
Oh. No, I'm at Mama's for 1 hour, literally. I fly back in a couple hours. So,
are we taking up mom time? Let's go. Let's get this interview over with.
You know what it is I've got to get to the bottom of this, because I've got a lot of people saying that you guys manufactured the Rob Ray thing. Like there's like this, and I think it's not you, Pinder. It's you, not you, Boomer. It's the guy in the middle.
Well, long arms?
Yes, old long arms. Ozempic long arms.
Yeah, they are. You can play this game. Yeah. You're going to have Ray and Warner double teaming you here.
I don't know what you're alluding to.
I mean,
I'll say this, because you and I, we were texting back and forth. Yeah. I will say this. What you saw in that clip it's not doctored.
That's not AI.
We were having a discussion about the Buffalo Sabres, and Kevin, this is, again, this happened a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And we were talking about these hard decisions you have to make as a general manager. You've said it, got to be a sociopath. And I said, Jamie McLennan, we were right in the middle of that. And he
jumps in.
That exact exchange, it's maybe tightened a little bit for time, but really there's very little in there.
The problem is
that Jamie McLennan. Oh, Noodles.
The response from you guys is fishy. That's what bothered me. Like I saw you on over. I saw you with the O-Dog. You're like, the guys, they didn't come to my defense. They didn't say anything. Oh no, Jamie's a great guy. Nothing. Rob Ray sitting right here. Nothing to see. Like it was just like, okay. Like to me, that was like, okay, are we in like a wrestling? Like, am I the heel now? Like all of a sudden,
is it a gimmick?
The wrestling script.
I know who wouldn't take your side either if he was sitting here. Is O-Dog. There's no way he's stepping in between you and Rob Ray. There's no chance.
This, you guys know, and this is the thing. I've been sent by my producers. Like, they were like, when Rob actually got hit in between the benches twice or whatever, we had it on our broadcast, I think, like the next day or 2 days later. My producer, Sam Cincerello, who watched the clip, he watched the show. He actually he said to me, he goes, show everybody this clip. We went out of our way to say, legend, Rob Ray, all of these things. He goes, this is long before you made the mascot head comment. And I said,
so you did make it, eh? It wasn't fabricated.
I went back and found the clip. Yes. I have to own it.
I can tell you, you've said it on our show too.
I actually used the word with love too. And I go, with all due respect and with love, he's a big dude. That's it. So anyway, my point being, like, I feel like there was manufactured over drinks or something the night before.
He doesn't drink.
You led the witness.
He doesn't drink. I can't lead. Does that guy look like he gets led?
You know what? I have 10-year-old twins, and this is what I say to them a lot. Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions.
Fair enough.
But the nice thing about it.
But I owned it. I'm not. I'm at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about it. You disarm people with the truth and say, I said it. I apologize. Hopefully move on.
Well, the nice thing about it is you'll be face to face with them in a small box here coming up in a couple days.
3 or 4 hours.
Confined space.
Good.
Give him a hug.
Very few escape routes.
Exactly. Like
it's going to be the most.
There, you can stuff me in it.
Well, you know what?
In the game like this,
I'll just stick it in the NHL. Night.
People can't wait.
A lot can be lost. I mean, hearsay, right? Well, so somebody said this about you, and then they said it.
Right.
I don't even did the word mascot head coming like. But I mean, let's take a look, because maybe
look at the evidence.
Maybe it exists.
Maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
When I'm in Buffalo beside him, I can't see around him. He is such a big man. Like he's got a head like a mascot, and I say that with love, but he's just a giant, giant man.
You can add whatever you want to it.
Yeah.
If I call somebody,
you know what that is? That's like doing the, no offense, but and then just crushing them.
Yeah, Dean calls me an alcoholic, but he does it with love.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot better for me.
Listen, I found
no offense, but
I need to own it, and I will. But at the end of the day, it's like it's not the most egregious thing in the world. I didn't feel like it was egregious.
I think you should stand behind it.
what bothered me is the lack of friendship that I felt that I had on this panel. Like,
where's this game? Where's this game being played? Where you got to work with him?
In Ottawa next week.
I'm coming. I'm going to stand in there. I'm going to wear my referee outfit.
Yep.
I'm going to be right in between the two.
What I'd like to do is just go and see him before the game and say, hey, apologize. And
I'll send you his number.
A bottle of wine. What? So he
doesn't drink.
He does not a drinker.
He doesn't drink.
Last time he drank, he went too deep. It was too much.
Okay.
Noodles, you do your homework. You research.
Yep.
Who wasn't at the table to defend you that you know absolutely would have defended you?
Brett Warner.
No, he was at the table.
I was at the
Yeah,
table.
he had
on the show.
He's trying to say
Pinder's
that
trying to put
Pinder
himself.
would've- Yeah.
No, I mean, Rob Ray was sitting at the table and started to. He's like, that guy's a jerk. So you're right, Rob. Yes.
Pinder was were you at the table, Pinder?
We got 3 seats at the table, so I'm sitting over there. I'm like, oh,
But you didn't chime in either.
I'm off mic.
He wasn't on. He wasn't part of that segment,
which is odd for him because he always chimes in.
You could put your hand up and say, "I've got a question or a comment." Yeah. Like that's what I would have.
I think. See, here's what I think. If I'm your manager, if I'm Bobby the Brain Heenan right now, and I'm working, I'm telling you, stick to it. Stick to your guns, Noodles. Play it out.
Also, I was going to say, in the spirit of Bobby the Brain Heenan, neck brace, because he may not punch a guy who's already injured.
Yes.
Wear some glasses.
Right? If you've got a neck brace and some crutches.
I'd love to have a go at you, but
Jamie, I mean, I was joking. Now I'm serious.
Yes,
it would be great because you've talked about it on your show and it'll be part of the thing. If you go cobbling in there with a neck brace and crutches,
maybe an arm.
That arm in a
so
sling. Good.
See,
like you got called for jury duty. You're pretending you got hit by a bus. I love it.
Though I don't want to make light of it in case he's really pissed. That's
he's not really pissed. He's got great comedic timing.
I was going to say
last time he was mad, he was playing in the NHL and Brashear beat the piss out of him.
Because you have no idea the amount of texts and calls I've gotten on that topic alone, to the point where I'll admit it's like I've been given an opportunity. They're like, if you don't really want to work that game, you can take the game off.
It's the barn burner bump, Noodles. You know all about this. Come on.
Well, I laugh because it's so funny. Like I talk to my bosses and I go, yeah, I'm going on barn burner. I got to talk about it. And they're like, okay, as long as you're comfortable. Because I'm like, I'm comfortable. Like it's and the thing is the weirdest part about it is like, I have great conversations with Rob. Every time I see him, he's such a great guy to talk to. And for about a half a second, I was like, if he's really pissed, how do I make it up to him? You know, like how do you, as a grown adults, like we're not in high school anymore. Like as grown adults, how do you make up to somebody, you know, that you could say sorry, but is it a gift? Is it just they see it in your face? It's genuine. Like, it's different. If you argue with your wife or whatever, you say you're sorry, you move on. Like that's, you know, is there a gift? Should there a gift be involved? Like what?
You know what? I wouldn't worry about it, but I think this is something we got to roll with here a little bit.
Well, I was going to say you brought it up for the third week in a row. We were going to talk about
Skin Dog,
Brady Tkachuk,
goalie trades. Yeah.
All right, let's get into the real hard hitting stuff.
Just the last thing on it: either neck brace and crutches or a sling. Or you get a mascot head.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Or you find a mascot head somewhere and wear it into the penalty or the box there.
That would be the ballsiest, scariest move I could ever do on life.
You're an entertainer, Noodles. Don't let us down.
I would not do it. Although the word sack, I don't have the sack. Did you guys see that
comment?
Quinn
awesome.
Hughes? I thought it was amazing. Yeah. The sack to trade for me. Oh.
What'd you make of that trade? We can go there.
I was there. I was in Mini, right?
Really?
They did the game. So the night before that comes across, I'm like, is this serious? And it's a fantastic trade. I think it's a good trade for both. I do. I you know, Pinder, you probably dug into the numbers of the players going the other way. But talking to people in Mini, the defenseman, Beam or whatever his name is.
Beam, yeah.
Supposed to be a player, like a serious.
Oh, yeah.
And
we should have drafted him.
People in Mini were saying like they were really sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Rossi has been much maligned there. He's really talented, but I think he has some consistency issues. The other player, good player, but
Ogren.
Yeah.
But 21, almost a point per game in the A last year.
Scored last night.
but
got his first.
Apparently this Z is serious. And I thought it was a great deal. It makes Minnesota into the three-headed monster there in the Central, because Colorado is a beast. I still think at some point Colorado's going to have a market correction. I don't know what that means.
Or are they going to upgrade?
So they're not going to set the record for regular season
They have
play?
2 regulation losses in 33 games.
But there's been no adversity there. Like what I go back to it is, you remember Boston set the record and then they lose. It just was too easy that year for them. Like they just, and I watched them live, whatever it was, a weekend ago or week and a half ago. Like Colorado, they're really good. I love how their neutral zone is as good as anybody I've seen in the league. That's how they defend. They're so tough through the neutral zone, and their transition game is unbelievable. So they're dialed in. I think Dallas is really good, and I think Minnesota is sneakily. I say sneakily because when we think of Minnesota, we think of the team I played for, Jacques Lemaire and Trapp, but they not sexy. That Kaprizov's a player, Boldy's a player, Faber's a player, Hughes is a player. The goalies, both of the goalies are good. Like,
You know, the thing with them, James, is they might be the most equipped to do damage in the playoffs because of how they're doing it right now. And obviously Quinn Hughes is going to, last night they beat Washington 5-0. Gustafson's 3rd shutout. They have 7 shutouts to lead the league already this season as a team.
Yeah.
That's, if you can play tight, get some opportunistic power play stuff here and there, they could be a real handful if it can continue.
I agree. The thing is too, I did the game Ottawa, and I felt bad for Ottawa. I thought they should have at least got a point out of that game. They played really well. Ottawa played really well. And Minnesota, what they did is they were patient. They kind of waited. And unfortunately, Ottawa made a mistake with 30 seconds left, didn't get the puck out. It's in the back of the net with a set play. Unbelievable set play, too. Like Eriksson Ek fanned out to basically the Draisaitl on the goal line, far boards. And they knew exactly what they were going to do. Seam play, boom, in the net, done. 2 points. But they hung around that game. They got good goaltending that afternoon. It was an afternoon game, kind of a slugfest. Ridley Gregg had a good fight with Hartman. Like, it was a really good, like a good hard-fought game. I felt bad for Ottawa. I was talking to somebody from Ottawa this morning, and they've left 8 points on the table with late goals against.
They also stole on Winnipeg the other night. It goes both ways. But
You're right.
They are surprising where they are in the standings.
I think they're a better team, but the problem is the standings are the standings. You got to earn that. And they, it's not going to get easier. You got Pittsburgh tomorrow. It's lost 6 in a row. They're going to be pissed. So, I look at it. Coming back to Minnie, though, hell of a trade. And I think you got Faber and Hughes for 2 playoffs.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Some people were kind of comparing, and it's not a perfect comparable, but the Mikko Rantanen trade to Carolina. It's like, well, are you as good going from Mikko Rantanen to Marty Necas? No, but Necas is pretty good. And then you spit. So Zeev Boya might not be as good, right? As
they had
Quinn
2
Hughes.
roster players, yeah.
But if he's not a top 5 D-man in the world in, say, 4 or 5 years from now, he's a top 10.
And
like I was looking, Marty Necas is 5th in league scoring.
You know what?
They're okay post
the game.
Mikko Rantanen.
The game I watched live, Necas was the best player on the ice, and McKinnon got 2 goals that afternoon. Necas was the most noticeable player that afternoon. JT Miller didn't put his gear on, but he had a couple shots. Panarin, I always joke that Panarin always has the dry hair, like just floating around, perimeter guy, but he scored a game-tying goal with a minute left. Shesterkin was unbelievable that afternoon. The Stars showed up when the lights kind of turned on. McKinnon scored 2, the game tire and the game winner. Shesterkin was unbelievable. So when I look at it, but Necas is an unbelievable player. You're right. Like the other thing you add in with Vancouver, if you get a first rounder, if they can draft properly, and we've talked about Connie. I'll bring it closer. You look at Connie and the way he's been able to draft in Calgary. That's what you need when you're going through a rebuild, retool. you need to have players in your system that you can bring, and that adds to the depth.
I thought of Calgary immediately after this deal, and it's like Minnesota, because they had the buyouts of, I guess, Suter and Parise, they artificially had a cap that was like $12 to $15 million lower a year for a long time. And it forced them to get really efficient with the roster, the contracts they have, and they had to draft well and collect a lot of good young players. It doesn't mean you keep them all.
Mm-hmm.
They use that capital to go get one of the best players in the world. And if Connie continues to stockpile picks, and let's say you get a first for Kadri, you get a first for Coleman, you get a first for Anderson, like you'll have 7 firsts in the next 3 years. That doesn't mean you go to the draft and to the podium for all 7. And it doesn't mean you don't go to the podium and develop a guy and move him later, but it just gives you the ability to make deals like this.
I agree 100%. You add on top of it, do you think the Hughes deal maybe expedites the
Rasmus?
The urgency for Rasmus?
Let's do this. And it ties in nicely. TSN, one of your colleagues, Pierre LeBrun on Insider Trading. I guess is that the segment yesterday with Dregs and the boys, talking about how that's just that. Could this impact the Flames and Rasmus Andersson?
What I am hearing is that the Calgary Flames suddenly got more calls on Rasmus Andersson after the Quinn Hughes trade, and that's not surprising. There aren't going to be that many top 4 defensemen moving between now and the March 6th trade deadline. What is going to be interesting is how the Flames handle that potential trade. Do they move him as a traditional rental, he's pending UFA, or do they involve the agent Claude Lemieux into a potential sign and trade to get more value in a trade? And one thing I should mention, that among the teams that have circled back on Rasmus Andersson is the Toronto Maple Leafs. We know the Leafs tried to trade for Andersson last year at the deadline. And why I mentioned Toronto is that my understanding is that the Leafs would be one of those teams that perhaps Andersson would consider extending with if, in fact, a trade would work out between those two teams.
All right, so there you go. That's courtesy, obviously, of TSN, where we find the guys doing great work. I'll let you jump right in to just thoughts on that.
Listen, I always ask when you're trading for Rasmus Andersson, that's the topic. I would ask, what did the Toronto Maple Leafs have that Calgary could covet? I believe their first rounder is at 28. That's what their nearest first rounder, which is fine. It's currency, but it's a couple years down the road. You got to kick the can down the road. They've got Danforth, the defenseman.
I guess for me, Noodles, and because we have had this conversation, and that hasn't really changed what the Leafs have, and if they're, I guess,
Cowan Danforth first.
For Pierre, like maybe now the calls are spiking a bit to the Flames. Were there a lot of teams? Like, were there some teams that were in this Quinn Hughes sweepstakes, if you were, that are now, okay, well, now we do pivot. They're two very different players, obviously, and it's a different scenario, but I was a little surprised that, interesting, that there would have been at least a number of teams that would now be moving on and getting potentially aggressive with the Hughes trade done.
I think you have to, once Quinn Hughes, whether he was in play or not, and the length of time I'm not, sure of, but if you're a manager, you should be fired if you didn't check to see if he's available for your organization.
Right.
So, if the call goes out or the text in the GM text chain goes, listening, Quinn Hughes potential, let me know. Every team, Stan Bowman's got a call, like anybody, like McFarland from Colorado's got a call just to see what the temperature is for that player. So I think these GMs would look at it. It might not be a fit for their organization, or they don't have the currency for it, but you go, okay, if that's the marketplace for Quinn Hughes. And I thought Billy Guerin was extremely aggressive. I'm sure you watched his media where he said, that was our first offer. We wanted to be serious and show them that they were serious. And I almost think that Quinn Hughes' comment was a backhanded comment at New Jersey.
Yeah, totally.
So anyway, getting back to Rasmus, I don't know if they direct correlate, but what it does is it percolates. These are big trades, and they're able to happen. So if you're in on a player, don't sit on your hands. Get moving. To me, be more urgent, because there might be another taker out there for Rasmus that you don't realize you're in, and all of a sudden you lose out on him because you're not proactive with it. That's my point.
So Does that go back to everyone? Well, we got to wait till the trade deadline because that's when you maximize. And I've always been like, well, it doesn't really make sense to me all the time. It's when the deals get made because you can't wait till after. Is it always the best deal, or was that deal available in December? You know what I mean? Like, we're always like, oh, we got to wait till the trade deadline to get the best return. Is that the way it really is, or is that just when the deals get done?
I think there's pressure points throughout things, Rhett. And I remember just being on the other side of the curtain and having discussions, or at least discussion's the wrong word, listening in to a lot smarter people than me have these discussions as to, when is the point? When, I think deals come to fruition, and I can speak out of turn there because I know Daryl's talked about this. I remember when he got Rennie Bork for a second out of Chicago. And that was like, I believe, like a couple years in the making, where Daryl had made that offer and just said, if you're ever going to move away from him, call me because I've got a second rounder for you. Something like that. It was like that type of like groundwork, but like, we're not pursuing it every day, but just if you ever move away from a player, we covet him. And I think you could check to see if it was a second for Rennie, but something like that. I remember the conversation and that type of stuff. So these conversations have all been had. They don't just start the next day after Quinn Hughes. But what I'm coming back to, Red, is the pressure point. Maybe I think there's levels where it heats up and goes, okay, well, like we should get more serious about this. Or if the player is ready or willing to waive or get on board, maybe there is a pressure point that fits in his schedule or fits in our schedule. I don't know how long that Jarry deal, I'll give you an example, for Stuart Skinner was in the works, but there was a pressure point at some point where they was like, okay, now let's do it. Yeah. And so same thing with Rasmus. At some point, Connie's going to have to go, this is the best we're going to do, and that's why we're going to make this deal. That's up to Connie and his management to figure out where that pressure point is, Rhett.
And some teams will put a priority on getting a guy earlier so you can get into the room, into the systems. It's not just 10 games until the playoffs or whatever the number would be from March 6th to mid-April. You also have other teams that say, oh, shoot, we're really up against a cap. If we can let another 2 months of salary run off, that prorated number that comes in is easier to handle. I always talk about the injury thing. Like, there's not going to be less than 0 injuries. There's going to be more than 0 between now and the deadline. But you also have the standings, to your point, right? Like, some teams that would be buyers now might be sellers in 2 months.
Well, you talk about Dallas. How long did you know what life is like without Heiskanen, because he was injured for a chunk there last year. And you're watching those around you bolster or go out. They're on incredible runs.
Yeah. Well, and their right side's awful.
Do you want to be there in the end? Do you? Well, like, you don't need to wait to know that it would be a great piece to add.
Yeah,
it would be, because you're right. Their right side is something that would need a Rasmus Andersson. Put it that way.
Yeah,
I think
all
it was Pushkin. Is that where?
Oh. And that's this kind of salary you take back. The big wild card with Dallas is Seguin done for the year? Because if he is, you get $9.5 million, and if you only shut him down, say till the end of the regular season, you get half the relief, and you have to be cap compliant in the playoffs this year. So if you're waving goodbye to Seguin for the whole season, Dallas really moves up my board. But I still see the same issues that I do there with Toronto. It's just like they've given up a lot of assets when they added Mikko Rantanen. Like, what is the massive piece they can dangle to the Flames to get Rasmus?
I don't know. I'm thinking of the young players just off the top of my head. I did their game a couple of weeks ago, like Maverick Bork.
It's one.
But like, you're not moving Wyatt Johnston.
No,
like,
he's already locked in. Like,
yeah, but he's part, like, Dallas is not going to take live players off their roster. They're trying to get better. They're not going to weaken themselves to strengthen another spot. That's where, again, I'm sure, I'm not going to speak out of turn, but I guarantee you, Connie has probably had all of his pro scouts tracking, name me a team, Dallas, LA, Toronto, all of that, going, what do they have in the minors? What do they have? Like, who's the up and coming, stud that they can grab, who's getting a little seasoning in the AHL? That's the type of stuff that or is it a draft pick that's in junior? That's a first rounder because I think that's the biggest thing with Connie is he's building assets. He doesn't need a 27-year-old. He doesn't need Jason Roberts, or maybe Jason Robertson might move the needle. You know what I mean? Maybe that's a guy, but why would you trade Jason Robertson if you're Dallas? If maybe it's the cost of doing business.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be an interesting one.
Does it ever come back to a point where the teams that would be interested in Rasmus Andersson, I'm playing it out as a silliness, really. If you can't get the return that you need for Rasmus, are you re-signing him? Like, if you talk about the Leafs and you're like, okay, so what's the best deal? The Danforth,
Cowan and a 28
and a 28 first? Are you like, okay, well,
they're not going to give up all three. Yeah.
I think you
like,
have.
What's the yes, no? And I know they don't want to pay Rasmus, but would Rasmus stay if he got his contract that he wants?
Yeah, if you give him 9, he'll stay. Is kind of the
right.
thing.
Okay, so,
but like the only way I could see, and it's not going to happen for playing fantasy GM, if you give Rasmus the money, but there's a no trade. Like you have to be open to a trade. Like, but that will take the control away from Rasmus, and then you trade him to.
But I don't even think Rasmus would like. The no trade doesn't mean shit if both the team and the player want, right? Like, how many guys have said, I'm not going? It happens, but it's rare.
But if you have a no trade and you've got a 10-team no trade list, and the team that wants you is on that no trade list, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like you can't go
get them to waive. They can waive it, but
there's a reason why that team is on that guy's no trade list. Like, that's the thing. Like, name me a team that would be on it. Like Buffalo's probably be on a lot of people's no trade list. So if Buffalo wanted Rasmus Andersson and he goes, well, I'm not going to Buffalo, I wouldn't extend, whatever. Doesn't matter. They could offer,
maybe you're also content with, you shouldn't be that desperate to get rid of him if you're, it's fantasy hockey, but this is what GMs in the NHL do, is play fantasy hockey. They go, what's Rasmus Andersson worth? Shop him around. I can't get, like, if Conroy sells Andersson for a first, like, you know what I mean? What's a bad deal for Andersson?
Less than a first.
But if that's the best deal that's being offered, what do? You have to sign him.
I understand that. But I do believe that there's enough, without knowing this, I believe there's enough interest in Andersson that you're going to get something really good. It's just
it doesn't have to be those 3 teams that we talked about.
It could be a team that we're not even thinking about.
But he's already got a no trade.
He's got 6 teams. So the extension becomes more the issue than the no trade. And that was what cropped up with LA. It wasn't a no trade to LA. It was, I'm not really comfortable signing an extension now. And I get it. He's coming off a bad year. The cap's skyrocketing. Why don't we just play it out? I don't want to lock in now.
But think of the Eastern teams that.
What about Jersey? Because they thought they were adding a D, I bet.
Yeah. I think Jersey would be. I think you look at teams that are having good seasons, like a Boston or Detroit. Like, I don't know if there's any interest from those teams. But, like, maybe those teams out east that see a wide open East where there's parity beyond belief, and you need depth, or you need a player like that to help the power play or to help 5-on-5. Like, there is scenarios there. I don't know. I don't think Tampa could do it, but, like, man, Tampa's their D are banged up right now. Yeah. Like, I look at all these teams. You can make a case for Rasmus to go to 15 different teams, but what is the asking price? What's the fit? Does he want to extend? All of these types of things. I live in Toronto. I know that Toronto would love to have Rasmus Andersson because Troy Stetcher is their crown jewel right now.
Oh my God.
And I give him credit, man. He plays hard every night. He's averaged 22 minutes a night for them. And outside of scoring on himself, unfortunately, the other night against Edmonton, he's been really good. And that's not a slight on Stetcher, but if that is what you're like, this is a guy who's playing top 4 minutes. Rasmus, what could he do for the Toronto Maple Leafs? You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
So staying with Toronto, like, obviously Brad Treliving covets the player. They tried to add him last year. He's the one that, drafted, developed, and signed him multiple times in Calgary. I've heard, and we've all heard whispers, like, are Brad Treliving's Toronto Maple Leafs able to complete a transaction with Murray Edwards' Calgary Flames?
I think we all hear the Reddit forum, Twitter chatter, whatever. I think at the end of the day, business is business, and if you can make a good hockey trade, I think that's fake news. I think it's okay. I don't believe that chatter. Put it that way. I believe that Craig Conroy has the ability to trade with anybody he wants in the NHL. Obviously, you run it up the chain. Donnie Maloney, you run it up to Murray Edwards, all of that, because there's big numbers involved. There's big money involved. But I don't know what that look for, whatever it is. But
we're on YouTube. They can see you.
My point being is I believe Connie could trade with anybody to make his team better. And why wouldn't you? That's the way I feel.
That's how it should be. Yeah. There's a slight Treliving tax, but you could get a deal done.
Yeah, I was going to say there's maybe a Treliving tax. You really want to win the trade if that's the case. Mm-hmm. Just a couple things. We're going to let you get out of here. I thought of you last night. We've talked about over the years when you were here and with the Flames in 2004, and then you get traded out, and then they go on this incredible run, and you're kind of sitting there watching all your good buddies have a great time. I thought of you last night at this scene.
Oh,
it was
what you're going to be. Stuart Skinner 7 feet away. Like literally.
So the Oilers, they pour onto the ice to celebrate 1,000 points for Leon Draisaitl, and there's Stu Balls standing in the blue paint. Yeah. Just pretend with his Oiler mask on.
I would have went in there.
Oh, you know what? The craziest thing, and I know this is all I could think about when I was watching that, is I felt like, because I don't know if you back that up, you see McDavid look at Skinner. He actually looks at Skinner when he comes out of the pile and turns away. See there, looks at him.
Fuck, that's tough.
Like McDavid is a really classy guy. I don't know if you saw the video afterwards with Leon and him visiting with Skinner, and Knobloch was there giving him a big hug and that. This is the emotions. This is the real life stuff outside of the game. I kind of felt like, and I would have been fine with if Stu Skinner would have given him a tap. Like,
yes.
And the reason being that is he lived it with Leon his whole career. Like he lived it, right? Like that's, and the other thing is, all I thought about, do you remember Sorkin, who allowed the goal for Ovi? And after
Russian pals,
in
the handshake,
gave him his stick signed that Ovi scored on it. Like it's I don't want to say it's a badge of honor, because it's like, hey, you gave up the goal. Like I'm on highlight reels left and right, Pavel Bure scored a big goal or whatever. I'm the pigeon in the background digging it out of the net. It's tough, but this is something that's so fresh. A week ago, they were battling in the trenches together. Probably been at dinners a million times. My heart hurt for that situation, and watching Edmonton just pummel Pittsburgh too. Like that wasn't a 6-4 game. It was 6-1 or 2, and Edmonton got lazy at the end of the game and gave up 2 late goals where the game was over and they got unfocused.
Do you remember when Brett Favre took the sack from Michael Strahan that set the record?
Yes. Yeah, but then
that's the reason guys don't do anything, right? You don't want to think like Kulak's already looking like an inside job, flipping it over the glass when it's already 5-on-3, and now Skinner's tapping him. Like you could see how people would lose.
It is awkward. That just on the Favre thing, when he went down on that tackle, was it Mark Gastineau or something that they passed for all time? And didn't Gastineau go after Favre?
Yeah, he saw him at a autograph signing.
How dare you?
And you did that.
Like,
that's one of the most awkward videos I've ever seen on the internet, period.
I think Gastineau has some life issues.
Yes, he does.
But yeah, it's an awkward one.
All of these things. But when I leave, pull up that video and tell me if that's the most cringy, weirdest transaction. Because Favre's like, hey, how you doing? He's like basically like, I hate your guts, and you went down early. And like, I think it had an emotional vibe to it. I felt bad because like Edmonton is starting to wake up a little bit, especially those two, the big guys. And they shredded Pittsburgh last night. Like I think it was a couple power play goals. They had the 5-on-3, like you said. Kulak fired it over the glass to make it an extended 5-on-3. So it is what it is. I'm doing Pittsburgh tomorrow, so I'm watching them after 6 in a row.
Give Mom a hug. Tell her we love her.
And give us 30 seconds on Oilers with Jarry.
Okay, well, I'll give you a little bit more. Like, Mom's all right. We're cool. I I thought it was a good trade for both sides. Now, hear me out on this. I think even if you view Jarry and Skinner as kind of a wash, I think Jarry is a little bit more talented than Skinner as far as athleticism. He moves side to side really well. They're both 6'4" goaltenders that handle the puck well. I think Jarry's handles it a little bit better than Skinner, but the stylistic change is what I was looking at. Not only just for the sake of change and the narrative, Tristan Jarry's style might suit Edmonton's the way they defend better, because Jarry is good side to side. And you look at him. Now, he's had some rebound control issues settling in. I don't know why he used new pads the day one. They were bouncing off of his pads. But I think Jarry is a better fit for the style. And I'm not convinced that they're not going to have another goaltender there by the deadline in Connor Ingram. I think you're going to have 2 new goalies there. And I think Pickard will be maybe there are 3 because I think you need 3 goalies anyways. And you look at what Dubas was able to do. It was money in, money out. Kulak is going to get paid. I don't think they had the money for Kulak to pay unless he took a massive hometown discount. So Kyle Dubas gets 2 good players on expiring contracts that he can actually turn if he wants to.
If they're out, he can flip them.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought it worked out. Edmonton addressed the need, and I think Jarry is, like I say, I think he's a better goaltender. But even if you view it as a lateral move, the style is a better fit. And I think Skinner can go, and whether Dubas flips him or he can settle in there. The one thing Stuart Skinner is really good at is outside of the head injury last year, he plays. He's available every night. He plays. Where Tristan Jarry's had a checkered last couple of years and certainly been injury prone, and that's something to be concerned about.
Well, it was kind of an awkward thing with Skinner last night, and then you saw all that, and I just know for me, it's kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm and stuff. It's just I have a hard time with like The Office when it's like hard and awkward, kind of cringy. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine good things are coming your way, Noodles.
6 days.
So good luck with.
It would be nice if I had some friends behind me that would like build my character.
Oh, we got your back. Yeah, but we're just trying to avoid.
Pinder, you're the only guy. I can't believe Pinder didn't put his hand up.
Oh,
I was in the dark. They didn't see.
Just
I was screaming. I just couldn't hear.
I literally say something, and then all of a sudden Pinder will go, "That's not true. This is the analytics or whatever." Rob Ray goes, "Yeah, this McLennan. I got a problem." I was waiting for somebody to go, "There's no way you can have a problem with that guy. He's just too good of a guy."
If only he had a teammate on the.
Don't
on
expect
the
us to
panel.
lie for you.
Yeah, when the other guy's at the table.
Is what it is. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys.
See ya.
Hey, just go ahead, Jack.
There it is. See, look at this. That's your move.
That
Noodles. People will die laughing. This is
Just
your
start
one-
talking about Tim Stutzla.
Yeah.
Don't even miss. Just pretend he's there. He's not even there.
Hey, Rob, how's Tage looking?
no,
Don't even. Yeah, just
you're
get
working.
right into your Senators analysis.
Well, I don't know how it's going to unfold, but I know I've apologized 10 times live on TV. I will do it face to face, and I might end up in a neck brace anyways. You never know.
Just know we have your back, Noodles.
Yeah.
Always got your back, buddy.
Sounds good,
Talk to
guys.
you next week.
Take care.
Be good. Hey, buddies. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.